Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 15 Minutes with Tim Consley. Excited to have you here today with us. I'm also excited to have fellow artist and good buddy, Rich Chambers. How you doing,
Hey,
Rich?
Tim. Good, Tim. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited to have you on. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, gee, not unlike a lot of other musicians. I mean, I came from that music family. I grew up with my dad playing guitar, and as a young boy, I used to watch him and be absolutely fascinated with what he was doing. I can remember, he'd pull out the guitar at Christmas time, and I'd sit with my little toy Mickey Mouse guitar, and I'd strum along viciously next to him, thinking I was playing along. And I remember thinking it's about the coolest thing I've ever seen. But Tim, it's really interesting. The real breakthrough moment for me was I have visions, recollections when I was about 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, and my dad used to go to the record player. He'd drop the needle on a record, and he'd work out the chords. He'd write down lyrics. He'd put the needle up, drop it down, work out chords. And I sat there transfixed with what he was doing, absolutely fascinated with the process. And for a 6-year-old hyperactive kid, for me to sit still for half an hour was something else. And I realized in hindsight, my love of songwriting, creation of music started then. When I was just 6 years old, watching my dad decipher and figure out songs and chords. And mom was a big music fan too. So the two of them, she encouraged me to pick up guitar and take lessons. So watching, want to be like my dad, and my mom pushing me into the guitar. I mean, and it was fun. It was, so that's where it all started. And at 14, I wrote my first song, and that is what really hooked me. I was sold at 14 when I wrote my first song. So as much as I love guitar and I love to sing, songwriting is what really put me into music.
So you answered my first three questions right
Oh,
there.
did I? Hey, I'm a bit of prophetic. I'm being prophetic there. I'm trying to figure out what you're going to ask ahead of time.
Tell us a little about yourself. What got you involved in music and when, and anyone else in your family musical? Those were my first three questions.
So, but I mean, my uncle was also the dean of music at University of San Diego.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's a lot of music in the family. And I think that's probably true of a lot of musicians. I find that most of my friends are musicians. I mean, I don't know about you, Tim, but I've never asked you. Did you come by it honestly with your parents or family as well?
Yes. My
Yeah.
grandfather, who I didn't know, he only met me once when I was 3 months old, but my grandfather was very musical. So was my mom. And my brothers are all a generation or more older than I am. So by the time I came along, they had their own band.
Yeah. Okay. So it was
So
always a part of your life as well.
always
Yeah. And
my
I'm so
earliest
glad.
my earliest memories were my brothers putting me in their lap and putting the guitar in my lap, or sitting at the drums and picking me up and putting drumsticks in my hands,
Yeah.
and so that's how I grew up. And really, I never took any lessons,
Yeah.
not even from them. Mom started me out a little bit when I started bass guitar, and then I switched to guitar. And my oldest brother was always the lead player in my family growing up, and he didn't show me a thing. I learned by watching,
Okay, by watching them. Gotcha.
and sometimes I'd play it for him, and he'd be, "No, no, no, that's not how that goes." And then I get a quick lesson.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are like the real life Partridge Family. Everybody's playing.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So
it's interesting, Tim, because I really think it doesn't have to just be in the family. I got a Facebook message yesterday from one of my followers in the Middle East, and I was absolutely blown away. I was walking on air yesterday about this, and he said, older guy, so he's probably in his 30s at this point, and he said, Rich, he said, I picked up guitar years and years ago, and I really wanted to play. And he said, and I just figured I could never do it, so I quit. And he said, a year ago, I picked it up again. I'm taking lessons and I won't quit. He says, and part of it is because of you, because he's
wow.
inspired by what I'm doing. I just thought, wow, I just felt so good about that. And so it's two things there. One, I feel awesome that I'm able to inspire people. And two, this guy's a testament to the, hey, you're never too old to take it up. you and I both we were fortunate that we were shown it as young children, but this
Right.
guy's, an adult. He's in his 30s and he's deciding on his own accord to do it, and he's sticking with it. So that's, any age you can do it, no question.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Older, younger, doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Just
main
have to
thing
stick.
is, do you have that fire within you to want to do it?
Yeah, because like anything, I mean, it's not easy. It doesn't come easy. But the more you do, as you know, the more you put in, the more you get back from it. So it's a wonderful thing.
Right. And 3 years ago, I had to teach myself to play all over again.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did you know I had a liver transplant?
I didn't know that, Tim.
Yeah. Um, I got sick really bad, ended up, I couldn't work anymore. I had a non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver,
Oh man,
fatty liver disease.
sorry to hear that. I didn't know that about you.
And for 2 years, I could not play or sing. And because I just got so sick,
Yeah, that's
my
tough.
wife didn't even know if I was going to make it until a liver became available. I got that sick.
Wow.
My half bath from the living room was just like right next door. And
Yeah.
I was already down to walking with a walker, and I would fall every time on my way to the bathroom and on my way back.
Wow. And you're not an old guy, man. That must have been tough.
Yeah, it was tough. And then when I got the transplant and came back home, when I felt well enough to climb upstairs, I came upstairs and picked up my guitar. I couldn't even make a C chord.
Oh, you had to relearn everything, kind of, huh?
It was in my head,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there was a disconnect between my head and my hands and my fingers.
Yeah. You had
And
to learn it again. Yeah.
yeah,
That's tough.
I knew how to do it in my head, but there was something with my hands. And see, still today, my hands shake
Little,
real bad.
little shaky. Got it.
The only time I can get control of them is playing guitar.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, I
I'm
learned.
a huge,
I
huge advocate. Go ahead,
I
Tim.
learned to. I had to relearn everything from 3 years till now.
Wow. You've done well, man. You sound great. So good
Thank
for
you.
you. I'm
Thank
a
you.
huge advocate of the whole organ transplant system. Wow, because my mother I lost my mother prematurely in a car accident, and she was considered brain dead. Absolute perfect candidate for organ transplant,
Yeah.
and we knew her wishes, so we said yes. And we
Mhm.
got these heart-wrenching letters a few months later, done anonymously. They do it as the organ
Yeah.
transplant system works as a conduit. You probably know how this, so you don't know who
Yeah.
they are. But we got this one letter from this man in his late 40s. My mom was a healthy individual who he received her heart. And he went on, and I still have the letter. I get teary just thinking about it. He talked about how he wasn't given much time, and now he's looking at walking his daughter down the aisle this summer, and he's blessed with the gift that's been given to him. And it's amazing what the whole system does. So
Yeah.
I know I'm an organ. If something happens to me, I've given the full organ transplant. Take whatever from me for sure.
Right.
So
I'm on the other side of that, and I tell you what, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of my donor,
yeah,
whoever it was. I did write through the system. I did
yeah,
write them at about a year's time. I gave them a year, and then I wrote them. I never did hear anything back. I mean, the place told me that they sent the letter and everything, but I never heard anything back. And I thought, well, they have my information. If they
yeah,
ever want to contact me, they can. And I told them that in my letter. So
yeah.
yeah,
So sometimes they keep it anonymous. I know some family members like to stay anonymous, and
right,
that's fair enough.
right,
Yeah, but it's interesting. You and I are coming from two separate spectrums of this,
yeah,
so it's quite interesting. Anyway, it's an amazing program, amazing system, and I often look at my mother, and her parting gift was the gift of life to about 4 other people, not just the
right,
heart. There was other parts of her that were harvested and gave life to 4 other people. So that's an amazing thing. It's an
right.
amazing thing.
It is. It is.
Anyway, we get off topic. It's an important topic, but we're off topic.
Yeah. So, who are your influences?
Oh, gee, we could go on and on forever. And one of the neat things is mom, she was a huge top 40 fan. So whatever was current, she listened. And she was a big Beatles fan, Elvis fan. That's what she grew up on. And I was a kid in the 70s with my transistor radio, and she was in tune to everything happening top 40. My dad, well, not so much, but my dad loved all the outlaw country guys. He loved Willie Nelson, he loved Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson. So I was exposed to all these country elements and rock elements. Then as I got older and got into the guitar, I was in my teens, I discovered BB King. Like, whoa, like this guy blew my mind. And then I went down the blues path. And so I have all these influences that are blues based, country based, and rock based. And also, as a growing up kid, I was saturated with reruns of the Partridge Family and the Monkees.
Yeah.
So I always talk about being influenced by, I call it bubblegum pop. It's very light, fluffy, doesn't have a lot to it, but it's kind of fun music. So I have all these elements. If you listen to my music, you're going to say, okay, there's rock in there, there's country in there, there's bubblegum pop in there, there's some blues thrown in there. And then, you know, in my college days, I played with a big band. So every now and then you hear something that might sound Dean Martin-ish. Right? So the influences are huge. Some of my favorite musicians, like most musicians, the Beatles influenced just about every musician out there in some way, shape, or form. Elvis is playing cool and swagger. Buddy Holly, one of the most underrated guitarists and songwriters in my opinion ever. Huge influence on me. Eric Clapton was a huge influence. Stevie Ray Vaughan, BB King, Roy Buchanan. You and I talked about him the other day.
Yeah.
And Dean Martin. I'm a huge Dean Martin fan. My grandparents loved Dean Martin. I realized I was listening to Dean Martin as a 5-year-old kid, and it just stuck there. And I love that Rat Pack sound. So then later I got into Harry Connick Jr. So the influences are huge. And I'm thankful for that. I'm so thankful I was exposed to so many different types of musicians and music.
Yeah. Now you really made me feel old. You said you watched reruns of Partridge Family and the Monkees.
Yeah.
I did not watch reruns. I watched them the first time around.
Well, I didn't miss it out by that much, Tim. We're not that far apart.
I wasn't extremely old, but I did watch them the first time.
You'll get a kick out of this. A funny story. I remember watching a rerun of the Monkees. I was loving the Monkees, and I found an old vinyl copy of Mom's Hard Day's Night. And I went up to Mom, I holding this record copy, and I said to Mom, I'm about 5 years old, I said, "Who are these guys copying the Monkees?" And she starts laughing. And she never really told me it was the other way around, but I figured it out eventually.
I used to have a 4 LP set, the very best of the Monkees.
That's great stuff, man. I love the Monkees.
Yeah.
And they themselves are actually better musicians than people realize.
Right.
And they had some great songwriters behind them. The whole machinery of the Monkees was brilliant, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, what all instruments do you play? You play guitar and bass, I know.
Those are the ones I do well. I do them well. Harmonica. I'm not bad on drums. I can hold my own on piano. I wouldn't want to, I've recorded myself a few times on these instruments, but I wouldn't say myself I'm a professional pianist or drummer. I dabbled with banjo. I love the banjo, but I'm just plunker on the banjo. I just have fun with it. The only thing I'd actually stand on stage and say I can professionally play it is guitar, bass, sometimes harmonica.
Yeah, I'm with you on the piano and the drums. I'm a little better on drums than I am piano, but either one is, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I can squeeze by and use it on recordings and stuff.
Yeah.
Because with recordings, I can take a few stabs at it, but
exactly. Got that wrong. I'll try again. Can't do that live.
Now, I did spend 10 years as a worship leader with a pastor who was really all about keyboard. And I'm like, but I'm a guitar player. And he says, well, I don't want you to lead with guitar. I want you to lead with a keyboard.
Oh, so you had to learn a bit of keys. Every
my
musician
mom, I dabbled with it ever since I was a kid. My mom played piano. We had a piano. We had an organ. Actually, I preferred the organ over the piano. I could run the bass pedals and everything.
Exactly. The organ's great. Great instrument.
But
every musician knows a bit of piano. It's sort of, it's par for the course. To the point where even in music school, they have class piano. Yeah, everybody has to learn some piano.
Right. Right. So your specific instruments, like what kind of guitars and stuff do you use?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. Coming from another guitar player, I like that.
Oh yeah,
I have like most guitar players. I have a few guitars, but I've gravitated to in the mid '90s. I bought a PV Telecaster, PV of all things,
right.
and they only made it for a few years. They
I
don't make it
know.
anymore. They haven't made it in years, and I have yet to find a Fender that plays as well as this thing. And I play this exclusively. Almost every solo I've ever done for the last 25 years has been on this PV Telecaster, and it's an amazing instrument. And if I ever, when I get really big, I'm going to talk to PV and say, hey, you guys got to make this again. And I'll sign it and I'll endorse it. So, PV, if you're listening, I'm coming to you one day.
You heard him, Hartley, right here.
All right.
See, no, wrong way.
What do you got there? You wearing a PV shirt?
No, I'm talking about in the picture here.
Oh, I'm in the picture. All right.
Yeah, right there. That's a PV
Oh,
Wolfgang.
yes.
Eddie
Yes.
Van Halen Wolfgang.
That's right. I see it now.
A
Which are cool guitars.
1997 first year quilt.
Are they still making that guitar? I don't think they are they?
Yes and no. They did go back. It's been a couple of years now and took some old stock that they
Yeah.
had and they built what they call the HP2.
Okay.
They had the parts and they sent them overseas to get assembled, but they're Wolfgangs. They're Wolfgang stock parts. But as far as the Wolfgang, no, I mean, that's all handled by Charvel,
Yeah.
which is part of Fender now.
Well, it's a shame PV's known for their amplifiers, but they've made over the years, they made some really good guitars. I wish they would put more emphasis on guitars. So my favorite single guitar is a PV Telecaster, not a Fender Telecaster. So.
Right. And I've had tons and tons of PV amps. Oh, good Lord. I couldn't tell you how many 2x12 guitar amps I've had.
Oh, I lean towards Fender. I'm a Fender amp guy all the way.
Well, I am now.
Yeah.
I got a Fender Mustang, and that's what I used when I played Sunday. And I started out when I played guitar, I started out with a 71 Fender Bandmaster.
Oh, cool. Cool instrument.
Big half stack.
Yep.
Heavy. The silver face. Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, Tim,
and it wasn't the cab that was so heavy. That head.
Yeah.
Humongous.
All tube circuitry, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, exclusively, I've been using since I was 18. I've been using a '66 Fender Twin that I found in a garage sale, and it's been my go-to amp for 30 years. Absolutely love the thing. And when I work on a computer and I'm using modeled amplifiers, I always find myself going for Fender Twins, Fender Super Amps, Fender Basements. I'm a Fender amp guy all the way.
Yeah.
No question.
Me too. When I'm recording, I use either a Fender Twin or a Fender Deluxe.
Yeah.
One of the two. A lot of my settings on my modeling amp is Fender Deluxe and Fender Twin.
Once in a while, I'll try Vox. I use every now and then I'll use a Vox model, but I'm not a Marshall. I love the sound of Marshalls, but it doesn't really suit what my playing in my music, so I stick with Fender.
Right.
Stick with what you know.
So, tell me a little bit about some of your latest releases. I know you're a nice guy, but
yep,
that one's been hitting big.
Yeah, it's done well.
A little bit about it.
I wrote the song with bandmates years ago when I was in a band, and this is a funny story. The song "You're a Nice Guy, But" is about well, I'll tell you the story where it came from. It was a Sunday jam session, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and we're in the middle of a song. We stopped, and one of the guys turned to our drummer and said, "Jeff, you went on a date last night. How did it go?" And he said, "Guys," and he sits back. He starts telling us the date. He says, "It was great. We had a really nice dinner and things were going really well. The conversation was great. Everything's going back and forth." And he said, "I really felt like I was going somewhere, and we went for a walk after dinner and held hands." He said, "It was going great." And he says, "I went to drop her off." And he said, "I didn't try and give her a good night kiss or anything. I went to drop her off. And she's about to get out of the car. And she says, 'Jeff, you're a really nice guy, but,'" and he stops there. And the three of us look at him, and we have this moment where, oh yeah, we've been there. We all burst out laughing. everybody starts laughing. We say, oh yeah, what'd you get after that? You're a nice guy, but we just want to be friends. And then one of the other guys types in, oh yeah, you want to, you can't, she can't quite find herself. And somebody else says, oh, she's hung up on somebody else. And we start laughing. Before you know it, I was mindlessly playing a riff that became the lead riff of the song. And then one of the other guys gives a couple chords, and I don't even know who it was. Somebody said, you're a nice guy, but kind of half sung it. We all start laughing. And before you know it, we're throwing the lines back and forth of what we've all heard given to us behind a chord backdrop. Within 30 minutes, the whole song's written, and we're just smiling. And yet we had them all like, okay, we got something. We knew we got something. So it was derived out of our poor drummer who got, nice guy butted the night before on a date. And so when I put the video together, you've seen the video, Tim. My videographer and I really wanted to encapsulate that fun atmospheric sense of it's kind of traumatic when you get dumped and somebody says I don't like you, but so we tried to make it fun when somebody's letting you down easily. Let's poke some fun at it and have some fun with it. So the video is me walking around meeting these ladies who tell me you're a nice guy, but, and they tell me all the lines, you got to find yourself, we're just friends, we shouldn't be lovers, all on and on it goes. And I end it by turning around and doing the same thing to a girl. I would say, you're a nice girl, but so it's a fun, very tongue-in-cheek video, and I get a ton of great responses from it. People always smile and send me heart emojis and smile emojis. So this is so much fun. And so I'm glad. I mean, music should be fun. There's a serious side to music, and I have some very serious songs, but this one was all about just having fun.
I've only had 2 "You're a Nice Guy" butts in my life.
Oh, you're lucky. I've had many.
I've had 2, but I didn't date a ton of girls.
Okay.
So, but neither one's in your song.
Oh, what lines did they give you? What did they tell you?
One girl was like, I really like you and you're a nice guy, but you seem more like a brother to me.
Oh, we should have put that. That's a good one. I should have put that one in the song.
And I was so hung up on this girl for years and years, and I never could convince her otherwise.
Yeah, you were stuck in the friend zone permanently. Sorry, my friend.
Yeah. And then I had another girl that I drove 2 hours to date her. She lived 2 hours from me.
Wow, that's commitment.
And so I got you're the nice guy, but you live too far away for me to get serious about you.
Yeah, that's another excuse,
Yeah. And that one really tore me up. But she was the last girl I dated before I met my wife.
And then no more nice guy butts. You're done with them.
I was done with them. And that's been, how long ago was that been? That's been,
you better remember
40 years ago that we met.
Did you forget that? You're in the doghouse if you forget that when that was.
Yeah, we're getting ready in a couple of months to celebrate our 38th wedding anniversary.
Hey, good for you guys. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. So what's coming up? You got any new projects, or you got any big concerts or anything?
I have right now I'm finishing a single. I'm talking with my videographer tomorrow. We're going to be shooting a video in late November, early December. Cool. The single will be out early January, along with a full album. I've got so far 7 singles released over the last year and a half. My idea was to release a single every 3 to 4 months and kind of keep myself as current as I possibly can. And now that I've got 7 singles under the belt, I'll have 1 more, and then I'll package 3 more songs. And I'll release a full album in early January. And I also have my Christmas songs, which initially my whole push started 2 years ago with the Christmas music, rock and roll Christmas music.
Right.
And you revamp it every year. Right now I'm getting all my marketing together, getting ready to market all my Christmas stuff again. And I have one Christmas song that's now over in 2.5 years been streamed 1.2 million times on Spotify. Wow. And I already see it starting to do this. I'm looking at my Spotify numbers. In late October, it's already picking up, and it's sitting on about 1,200 playlists at the moment. And it sort of every year it catapults me, and it just, I'm hoping that it spins off. So far it hasn't. So far people just listen to that one Christmas song, but I'm hoping at some point they're going to start, hey, who is this guy? What else does he have out there?
Right.
But it's all part of the marketing. I mean, I've grown my Facebook followers huge. I've grown my TikTok followers huge in the last 3 months, all on the strength, and this is crazy, all on the strength of me just going to the park, putting my acoustic guitar, setting my iPhone in front of myself, my acoustic guitar, and singing 60 seconds of a classic song. I've been doing that for 2 months now, and I can't believe the engagement I'm getting on this.
Wow.
My professional videos don't get nearly the same engagement of me 60 seconds singing the Beatles Get Back in the Park. So I went from 400 TikTok followers in August, which took me a year and a half to get. And I started releasing these 60-second video clips. I'm now sitting at 12,000 TikTok followers in less than 2 months.
That's
All on
amazing.
the strength of just going to this park and singing into my iPhone.
Wow.
People like the organic stuff. They really like, and I think it's a testament to where music is today. I think people are really starving for live performances. They want to see people actually play instruments, sing songs, as opposed to so much music is so electronic now, so computerized.
Right.
And I think, and other colleagues I talk to say whenever they do something organic, it gets the most engagement. And I think people are starving for that real live musical experience.
Right. Man, I wish I could get mine up to that kind of point. Mine,
I would
mine
have
are
never
still
guessed it, Tim.
relatively small for a guy who's been playing as many years as I have,
Yeah,
but I've only gotten serious about it within the last 3 years.
yeah.
My
Last two
brother,
for me.
my
Yeah.
my brother bought me the little recording interface that I'm using as a way for me to help rehab my guitar skills.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so that's how I got into recording.
Good for you.
So
Recording's fun. I absolutely love it.
yeah,
Songwriting, producing, recording, mastering, mixing. I do it all. I
I do
started
too.
by, yeah. And they say you shouldn't. People have heard time and time again, you shouldn't mix and master and record your own material. You should have other people helping you. But Tim, I don't know about you, but I found that every time I went to other people, they couldn't get the sound I wanted. Only
Right.
I was able to get it. So I stopped hiring out other people. Why waste that money? If I can get the sound I want, I'm getting the sound I want. I go for it.
I one time tried to get somebody to mix and master something for me. And I'm like, that's just horrible.
Didn't work. Yeah, I was the same. I
So
found that I was doing when I mix and master, I actually use a hybrid of old engineering techniques and modern studio techniques. Like if somebody looked at my track, they'd say, "Oh my God, you've got no compression or anything on your cymbals and hi-hats and everything else. Why are you not doing that? You've compressed the snare to no end." It says, "You've hardly got anything on that guitar. That guitar's just sitting raw." I said, "Yeah."
yeah,
So in some ways, I'm using very modern techniques. In other ways, I'm just going with the pure sound.
right.
And most producers don't do that. Most producers tend to, in my opinion, and it's unfortunate, they tend to almost overutilize what's there. Sometimes, sure, you got the entire bells and whistles, but sometimes you don't need all the bells and whistles. Sometimes
Right.
just the sound itself works.
Right. And that's sort of my philosophy too. So
Yeah.
and talk about songwriting, man, I just book it. Songwriting. I'll come upstairs and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna record a new song. And I'll go from just sitting down with my guitar and banging on it until I come across something. I'm like, ooh, this could be something.
This works. Yeah.
And so I'll bang on it a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, here's the kind of drum beat and kind of tempo I need.
Yeah.
And so I'll take and set it all up. I'll record drums first.
Yeah. So do I.
And then I go to my rhythm guitar section and I put all the chords in there, record all of it. And then out comes the bass. Then if I'm going to put any organs or anything into it,
Yeah.
I like using a Hammond organ or a rock organ. I'll put that next. And then next I'll do all of my lead guitar parts.
Oh, I do them last. I do the lead vocals before lead guitars.
The way I do it is I do all of the instruments first,
Oh,
and then I
interesting.
sit down with a pad, paper, and a pen and go, and I listen to the song. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's it saying?
Oh, interesting. So you fully construct the song before you actually write the lyrics.
Right.
Oh, I don't go that far, but that's interesting. That's an
That's
interesting way to do it.
That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what does this song say to me? You know, what am I
Yeah. No,
feeling
I hear
listening
you.
to this?
That makes sense.
And so I'll write a verse, record it, write a verse, record it until I've got the whole song finished. And that's usually within a time span of 2 days.
That's good.
I I put out an album every other month.
Hey, that's impressive, man. That's impressive. I don't work that fast. I'm way
But
too painstaking.
but you work a job too. I'm stuck here at home
Yeah.
almost 24/7.
Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah. If
don't I
I,
don't drive anymore or anything,
okay.
so I've got nothing to do other than my music.
Got it.
And now working with Sparky and Kirsty. So
Yeah. No, got it. Yeah. So yeah, my full-time gig is still need the paycheck for my full-time gig. So
oh
at
yeah.
least for the moment.
Yep. All right. So anything else you want to add before we go?
No, Tim, I mean, it's a pleasure chatting with you. I mean, anybody listening, I encourage you to get involved in music in any way, shape, or form as a listener, as a performer, as a player. If you've always wanted to practice or pick up a guitar, why not? There's no
Why
reason
not?
not to. Pick it up. And what the beauty of the guitar market today, there's so many inexpensive guitars that are good quality. That you can, on a couple $100, you could easily have a quality instrument that you can learn well on. So that's
Sure.
one thing beautiful about the market today. That was not the case when I was a kid. You had to spend at least $800-900 to get something really good because all the
Yeah.
cheap stuff was useless. But now a couple $100 and you've got a great instrument that you can learn on. So I encourage people to do it. Give it a try. Go.
Right. My mom and dad always bought me a nice used one to start out with.
Yeah, that's a good route to go to.
And after I get to a point, I'd advance to a point, they say, okay, it's time to go trading. We're going to get you something nice now.
That's cool.
And that's the way my parents encouraged us.
Yeah, yeah.
Or my dad wasn't musical. People used to ask my dad, do you play anything? And my mom would say, are you kidding? He can only play the radio, and even then all he gets is static.
That's a good one. I like that.
So all righty, Rich. It was a pleasure having you on here today.
Tim, a pleasure talking with you, my friend.
Yep. And so everybody, this is it for now. Tune in again to the next episode of 15 Minutes with Tim Consley. And on behalf of Rich Chambers, I hope you have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.
Take care.